Welcome to day 10 in the reading of this book, Guru Leela 3 Grace That Heals. Before we begin reading today's chapters, I would like to invoke the Mohanji Gayatri Mantra 3 times to seek his blessings on this reading journey. Om Para Brahmane Vidmahe Shiva Tattvaya Dhimahi तन्नो मोहन प्रचोदयात् ॐ परब्रह्मणे विद्महे शिवतत्त्वाय धीमहि तन्नो मोहन प्रचोदयात् ॐ परब्रह्मणे विद्महे शिवतत्त्वाय धीमहि तन्नो मोहन prachodayat. The chapter I'm now going to read is titled Invisible Embrace, written by Shubhashri Tottungal from the United Kingdom. Recovering from rheumatoid arthritis by Mohanji's grace, in his physical presence through attending his retreats and walking on the selfless path of service shown by him, were my experiences of personal transformation. I have written about it in Guru Leela Volume 2. But as you know, when we get connected to a guru, not just us, but our family, our lineage, our forefathers, even our future generations also receive the protection of the guru. I have experienced this grace of protection amongst my family members too. Mohanji has always held not just me, but my entire family in his invisible embrace very lovingly and compassionately. I share here two such stories that have brought complete clarity to me about the eternal protection and grace that comes through the connection and conviction and surrender to the Guru. Healing my father in law. 2nd January 2016. We were at my in law's place in Kerala for Christmas vacation. There was a sudden opportunity to meet Mohanji at his home in Palakkad, Kerala. Having missed the opportunity to visit Jagannath temple in Puri a few days back in Odisha, I felt that Lord Jagannath had allowed me to feel his presence through meeting Mohanji. I was still in disbelief that I was actually going to meet Mohanji at his home. What a blessing that his parental home is just about 15 minutes away from my in law's place. This would be my second meeting with Mohanji, having met him for the first time in London just about 5 months back in July of 2015. Well, nothing is ever a coincidence. It was indeed a divine plan for a much bigger purpose. This vacation wasn't very easy. We had recently found out that my father in law's cancer had relapsed after 4 years of treatment in a pretty bad way. There was literally no hope. No medicine could work as the cancer had found its way around it. Well, there was a small hope with a huge risk. A medicine which had been started just 2 years back in the USA, still in development in the UK and the Europe, was the only option. But it was almost next to impossible option. This medicine was available only in the USA and needed to be imported from there every 4 to 6 weeks. That would last 2 cycles of treatment and hence a roaring high cost. If this worked, it would be the only possible chance to keep my father in law alive. That meant we were talking about a long term treatment, and hence the financial affordability for such an arrangement seemed like a mountainous task. Not only this, the new age of the medicine also brought a threat to life, almost instant within 48 hours, in case it didn't agree with the patient's body. While our hearts were saying to give it a go, solving the financial issues later, the mind was scaring us with this humongous threat. Such a situation brought not just a dilemma, but immense stress to us as a family. We could, of course, not disclose the full story to my mother in law. Having the whole family on vacation with her sons and grandchildren, my mother in law was enjoying every moment without having the slightest idea of what dilemma her sons were going through. Amidst this situation at home, I got the golden opportunity to meet Mohanji. When the time came, I went to meet Mohanji with my mother in law. This was the first time my mother in law was meeting Mohanji, and she had no clue of the stature of Mohanji. For her, he was just another famous person whom we met in London. While I was still trying to pinch myself to believe that I was really sitting in front of Mohanji and feeling the divinity of Lord Jagannath, my mother in law was happily conversing with Mohanji's mother. Then I only had one silent thought and a sincere prayer to Mohanji. Please let this smile on Amma stay like this. Let the dark clouds of the risk for Achan's life not hide her smile. Let the new medicine work for Achan positively. Then I had no clue that Mohanji hears all my thoughts. We returned from Mohanji's house. I returned to London. We decided to go ahead with the new medication. Miraculously, some blocked investments were released and we managed to arrange the money required for the treatment. Cycle after cycle, the medicine continued. Of course, it suited my father in law. His condition started to improve. The threat to his life had disappeared. Money for the treatment was getting arranged. What had seemed like next to impossible was actually happening. Day by day, Achan was getting back to normal life. As each day passed, I started to realize that this was no less than a miracle. This was the answer from Mohanji for my prayers. Let the smile on my mother in law's face continue. He had made everything feel so smooth, so easy, but silently. No one in my family, not even my husband, knew about my silent prayer and no clue that something impossible like this was happening. Probably, even taken for granted, the grace had gone unnoticed. But the picture was quite clear to me. January 2018, exactly 2 years later, after having a nearly normal life in those 2 years, suddenly Achan caught a nasty infection and developed renal failure. Just about 2 hours before I was about to take off on the flight to Mumbai to attend the yoga teachers training course in Ganeshpuri, we received a call informing that Achan was in the ICU. It was too late for me to change the plan, so we decided I will go ahead, and when I reach Mumbai, depending on his status, either I will go to the hospital or continue with my yoga training. Before going to Ganeshpuri for the yoga training, I had a plan to Shirdi since Mohanji would be there for a day. I would have a chance to meet him and, of course, the chance to visit Shirdi Sai Baba Samadhi temple after 13 years. Now, with the sudden twist in my father in law's condition, I was doubtful that I could go to Shirdi. However, I surrendered at the feet of my Guru and Baba Sai. When I landed in Mumbai and called my in laws, I found out that he was still in ICU, but there was nothing I could do by doing by going to the hospital. This was a different city from my in law's place, and hence it wasn't just easy to go and stay there. My brother in law was there, so I proceeded to Shirdi and felt that being in the presence of Baba and Mohanji, my prayers for Achan would be more fruitful. After the temple visit, I met Mohanji and conveyed to him my father in law's serious condition and the agony that my husband and the whole family were going through. After I narrated everything, I saw Mohanji go quiet and then he said slowly, his soul is not interested in staying anymore. The soul is looking forward to the exit. I was dumbstruck. Silent exclamations. Oh no, Harish will be devastated to hear this. Mohanji, please do something. Mohanji hears every unuttered word too. He said, let us see what we can do. This statement was enough. I knew everything would be taken care of. When, while I went ahead for the yoga training that day in Ganeshpuri, I was in constant touch with my brother in law about Achan state. He said the doctor had advised him to be in the ICU for a minimum of 3 weeks and that they would start the treatment there. 3 weeks in the ICU. Fear was trickling in. My husband in London was also getting worried. In this situation, my faith was only on Mohanji. The words, "We will see what we can do," were ringing in my ears. Also, Mohanji's assurance that whenever doubt or fear crops up, we need to look back at all the previous experiences and remember how he has always been with us. 3 days after coming to Ganeshpuri, an update from the hospital. Achal was shifted from ICU to a normal ward. What? The doctor had said minimum 3 weeks in the ICU. And on the third day, he was out of the ICU. It wasn't difficult for me or Harish to realize that this wasn't a simple ordinary phenomena. Mohanji's grace was at work. Finally, after my completion of yoga training, I went back to London and Harish traveled to India to be with his father in the hospital. Achan was in a normal ward and the dialysis was still going on. Doctors were committing to nothing. Suddenly, after a few days, I got a message that Achan was discharged from the hospital and was returning home. And that was exactly during the third week. So, during the 3 weeks that he was originally going to be in the ICU, he actually fully recovered and was back home. Harish and I realized that this miraculous healing from the near death condition due to kidney failure was surely Mohanji's grace. Just remember, he was still under that special cancer treatment. After this incident, it was as if he got a new life. He was full of energy and was performing all activities as if he didn't even have cancer. Many unfinished issues were completed. He lived a healthy, normal life for the next 10 months. His soul, which was ready to leave the body a long time ago, probably stayed back to finish some of the pending jobs it had with a with a divine grace had a smooth exit later without much pain. Not only did Mohanji ensure that after the incident he had a healthy life, when he left it was a smooth exit. When I look back at my father-in-law's journey from January 2016, since I met Mohanji at his home till Achan left his body in 2018 December, his life was blessed with divine grace. And for Harish and me, this divine grace was all due to none other than our Mohanji. Healing for my brother. Words are not required to express our thoughts and feelings when we have the connection in consciousness. With Mohanji, most of the time, we don't even need to ask anything physically. He hears our thoughts and does what he needs to do. When he says, "I do my job," he does that. This personal experience that I am going to share with you is something that amuses me every time I remember this and gives us a glimpse of the vast ocean of grace and compassion called Mohanji. Back in 2017, one day I heard from my brother, who is just about 4 years elder to me, in his 40s, that he had been diagnosed with a rare genetic heart problem which could suddenly cause a cardiac arrest. The moment I heard this, my immediate call from heart was to Mohanji. Within minutes, I felt Mohanji's assurance in consciousness. I felt and his words say, "We will do whatever we can." Meanwhile, a few doctors whom my brother consulted, and even a doctor friend of ours in London, advised him to visit one of the best heart specialists in India, especially for his particular condition, and to get a surgery done. He was told that it was best to get the surgery done at the earliest, as the risk could happen any time. This was indeed a stressful time for all of us. I kept praying to Mohanji in silence. Some time later, I had the opportunity to be with Mohanji in Novi Sad, and on the same morning I arrived there, my brother messaged me that he was visiting a top specialist that day and he was ready with everything if the operation needed to happen immediately. After getting his message, my heart started beating faster. When I got a chance to speak to Mohanji, I told him about my brother's situation and showed him my brother's photo in my mobile. Mohanji blessed his photo and said, We will see what we can do. This sentence was reassuring, as I know when Mohanji says this, all problems goes away. I was confident that Mohanji would be with my brother during the operation, and his operation would be successful and he would recover soon. The day passed with the events, and Mohanji and I had no chance of seeing my phone that day. Later in the night, when I retired to my room, I opened my phone and saw a message from my brother. Reading the message, I literally jumped out of my bed. I couldn't believe what my eyes were reading. My brother had written that early in the day when he met the specialist had checked everything and concluded that my brother didn't need an operation. They could treat him with medicines and recheck in 3 months. I was praying for a successful operation, as that was inevitable from all the previous doctor's advice, and I was sure that Mohanji blessed his photo, he would ensure the surgery to be successful. It was beyond my imagination that Mohanji would totally dissolve the question of the surgery. No surgery required. It was nearly midnight, and even after the whole day's busy schedule, I had no tiredness. My sleepiness had gone. I couldn't wait to meet Mohanji in the morning. I expressed my gratitude for this miracle in consciousness and also through a text message. Finally, when I met Mohanji in the morning with his morning tea, I bowed at his feet. How else can I express my deepest gratitude to my Gurudev who had done this miracle? What can I do, Mohanji? I asked him with the tears of overflowing emotions. Very calmly, he said, ask your brother to feed fishes, birds, and animals. Nature and the beings will protect him. Nature is protecting him. I melted even more. He knows what a relief it was to hear the miraculous news of no surgery required, and there was nothing in return he asked for himself. He simply asked to feed the birds and the beings in the nature. My heart was expanding even more at seeing the true and unconditional love in Mohanji. What can we even give him? He asks nothing. He needs nothing. He can have everything, but truly needs nothing. It's been 2 years now, and feeling of that day is still fresh in my memory. With His grace, my brother is keeping well. I know now when we are connected to Mohanji, our family and our entire lineage has his highest protection of the tradition. With a heart full of love, eyes brimming with tears of joy, my head bows down at the feet of my Guru, my father, my mother, my best friend, and my beloved, whom I call Mohanji. A Walk of Faith, Sunita Madan, India. The Bosnian Pyramid Pilgrimage and the Kriya Intensive Program were the first of my long retreats with Mohanji. The Bosnian pyramids have always been a mystery to me. I have always wanted to be there and experience them firsthand rather than reading others' experiences. But more than the pyramids, the thought of being with Mohanji for nearly 10 days was like a dream. There were many issues and obstacles before I boarded the aircraft towards Istanbul and finally Sarajevo. I was finally there. I shared a room on the fifth floor of the hotel, and I got to know that Mohanji was on the sixth floor. The thought itself kindled all kinds of emotions. The following day was to be the satsang, and there I saw my father Mohanji, full of unconditional love, as he shared a word or a hug with one and all. When it was my turn, I waited for the hug, which was a dream come true. It made me feel so loved and complete. The next day was our pilgrimage to the Sun Pyramid. Now came all the challenges. It was to be a long walk uphill and then a steep climb. I wondered if I had been wise to agree to climb up. Fortunately, I reached a certain point by car, but then the next stage was the steep climb. Mohanji had led the way, and one by one, slowly but surely, everyone was climbing up. I started the climb one step at a time, chanting the Mohanji Gayatri in my mind. Dear George guided me beautifully, encouraging me at every step. I slowly and steadily moved up, having to stop after every 3 steps to take a deep breath. My main thought at that time was, will I ever make it? As this thought came to me, I looked up and saw my guru, my master, looking down at me. My fear reduced, and I immediately knew that he was taking care of me. It was His grace that I was in Bosnia, and it was His grace that I could and move and go up the steep path of the Bosnian pyramids. Due to a slip disc issue, I normally have to be very careful with my knees, my legs, and my back. And here I was climbing a pyramid many meters high. This was indeed a miracle. When I reached Mohanji later, I thanked him and he said, "You're doing well. Anything and everything can happen with the Master's grace. In my case, His grace flowed all the way. I was encouraged to climb further up where we gathered to meditate. His grace continued to flow as we went up the moon pyramid as well. The vehicle in which he traveled to the moon pyramid had a high step. It was very difficult for me to climb up and also to get down. Mohanji held my hand as I was wondering how to get down, and then he said, "Jump." It was a direct command from my guru. Without a thought about my knees, my legs, and my back, I simply jumped, and lo and behold, I landed on my feet safely, and my aches and pains vanished. Today, when I look back, I'm in awe that I managed to do all of this and know that it was possible only with Mohanji's grace and blessings. I feel deep gratitude and deep love for my Guru who held my hand and blessed me with the words, "I'm always there with you." With such physical pain and inability, traveling all the way to Bosnia, followed by the climb to the pyramids, connecting to the energies and meditating there had not been my cup of tea. But lifetimes of karmas have been washed away in this pilgrimage, and this was made possible only because of Mohanji. Without much ado to whatever he does, he works silently, effortlessly, and very smoothly. The transformation in our lives and the deep cleansing we receive are phenomenal. To my Guru of such stature, the only thing I can give is my humble prostrations at his holy feet. Jai Jai, Jai Gurudeva. The next story is written by Tina Arya from the USA, and it is called The Unseen Healer. Maitri method is a very powerful healing modality, and as Mohanji says, it's a healing method of the white path. Mohanji's divine energy is blessing people with miracles, and as a witness, I am blown away by these miracles. I was approached by an acquaintance at the end of the December to do a Maitri for her husband. He had stage 4 pancreatic cancer and was bedridden. When I went to their home for the first session, he was mentally alert, but he had multiple complications because of the disease. He had severe edema in his legs and could not walk without support. Mohanji guided me and told me that he'll get better only if the edema goes down. So I told his wife that she should consult with the doctors to ensure that the excess buildup of fluid was drained with the help of medications. At this time, doctors were saying that his condition was not treatable and that they can only keep him comfortable. We had 4 sessions of Maitri method, and during the last session at his home, he drifted in and out of sleep, and his condition seemed to be getting worse. His wife was not able to take care of him, and Mohanji again guided me during the process to have him shifted to a hospice. After 3 days, I went to do a Maitri at the hospice, and his condition was much worse. He was barely conscious, and his wife said he had stopped eating 2 days back. He had also stopped talking. His parents called up to video chat with him as I entered the room, so I went to give him some privacy. When the call was over, his wife came out and said she wasn't even sure if he could hear his parents, let alone recognize them. Then I went in to give him Maitri, and as I was moving along the third eye and the throat chakra, he said, "I want water." His wife was shocked as he had not spoken for 2 days. He was so weak at this time that he was being fed through a syringe, but swallowing even a 5 ml of water took him about 20 seconds. So I stopped and his wife gave him some water. As I passed energy along the throat and heart chakras, he made a loud sound as if he was in pain. So I stopped again and asked him he was in pain. And he said, "No, I'm not in pain. I feel uncomfortable as if something is holding me down." Hearing this, his wife was speechless. There was more guidance from Mohanji during the Maitri about reducing his pain medication. I completed the session and he calmed down and slept. His wife and I stepped out to talk. She told me that the hospice director said that looking at all the symptoms and his condition, you're not going to live for more than 1 or 2 days. I gave her Mohanji's messages, but she didn't sound very hopeful at that time. Amazingly, he started getting better from that day. He started eating with a spoon within a couple of days. His appetite grew and he became mentally alert. It has been 2 months since I did Maitri for him at the hospice. Doctors and the healthcare professionals had said that he was not going to make it. He's getting better every day, and his wife is going to move him to a rehab center so he can be on his feet again. The edema is completely gone, but his muscles are weak, so he needs physical therapy. There were so many times that this person seemed to be getting worse, but survived way beyond all doctors' expectations. As a Maitri method practitioner, I was a witness to these amazing miracles. We are so blessed to be connected to Mohanji and to be given this platform to serve. I have felt my faith and surrender grow exponentially since I was initiated into the Maitri method. My connection to Mohanji has become deeper. My eternal gratitude to Mohanji for his guidance. Cosmic Wink. Cosmic Wink, Charis Bharadwaj, UK. As I sit down to write this, I feel the pressure of trying to describe something which is so much more vast than me, to attempt the important task of articulating the Master's grace, something which should be done with care and seriousness. Then, as my fingertips approach the keyboard, I glance through the window and across the street. I see a middle aged man standing on the roof of his shed with his fists on his hips, wearing strange little shorts in this freezing January climate. He looks perfectly ridiculous, like a schoolboy pretending to fly. I laugh, forgetting about all about the seriousness of this writing task, and the words begin to effortlessly flow. This is how Mohanji's grace falls on me. He always appeals to my playful creative constitution, the part of me which sees these snapshots of life as material for a show, as the juice of creativity. Mohanji has a way of making me laugh at myself when I'm taking my life too seriously. I might call this the cosmic joke factor. Just an half an hour ago, I was very distressed about that man across the street because he kept looking at me through my window. Many fears flashed through my mind about old men preying on young women like me, and I was feeling deeply uncomfortable at being watched in my own home. Moments later, this clownish image is revealed to me, a grown man in little shorts, bizarrely standing on his own roof in the middle of winter, looking like the least threatening person ever. In an instant, all my fears are cancelled out, and lightness returns, rushes in. I asked for Mohanji's protection, and he responded with a cosmic wink. I see this as a part of the Master's grace because it is protection through laughter, the lightness through which we regain our power, sanctity, and joy. Grace follows through humor because it pulls the rug of concepts from underneath our feet and forces us to challenge our expectations. Once at the sacred gardens by the Bosnian pyramids, the pilgrims were cleansing in the spiraling rock formation and meditating in their high vibrations. Some stopped by a large boulder to place their hands on it and absorb its energies. Mohanji joined the circle and placed his palm on it. We all closed our eyes with a deep intention and seized the opportunity to participate in whatever he was doing. Sounds of and wow, so amazing arose from the circle. We opened our eyes and saw Mohanji nod. Someone asked, "What do you feel, Mohanji?" "Absolutely nothing," he replied. This one is just for decoration." Our performances of sincere pilgrimhood were hilariously undercut by Mohanji's bluntness and cheekiness in humoring our display of spirituality. The vulnerability, truth, and authenticity of the embarrassing moment allowed us to simply be. How many lessons are delivered through these cosmic jokes? Do we dare bear witness to the humor of the universe? Do we have the humility to delight in the Master's wit? This is the grace that heals. Now we come to the end of the book, Guru Leela 3, Grace That Heals.